it has to start from us treating our daughters on the same pedestal, our mothers on the same pedestal. Women of our family have to be given the same latitude, the same liberty. You know, young girls have to be allowed to have the freedom to choose what they want to choose. So when, you know, even today, I mean, today women have broken really all barriers. If you look at workplaces, they've broken all barriers. There's not a single field that women have left untouched. But these are women, if you will notice, these are women who have got a lot of strength and support from their families, or, you know, some pivotal people in their homes, maybe immediate family, larger family. But if you clip the wings of young girls in the household at home, how do you expect her to take a flight outside? See, so you can't have, in workplaces, in all these areas, you can't have lower measures. I mean, if I'm a woman lawyer, I can't expect that I'll get an order even if I've not prepared my brief well. And I can't prepare my brief well unless I have a strong support system, a robust mechanism which allows me the liberty to spend the hours that I am required to spend on preparation of files when I go to argue. So I think the real change is going, because none of us take it seriously. I mean, of course, the governmental role, the law enforcement agencies' role, that is pivotal. But there is no sensitivity. Our laws are amongst the best laws in the world. We lack in implementation, because the sensitivity that you see, even of the law enforcement mechanism, I mean, if they're on a VIP duty, you look with so much of alacrity they are attending to those duties. But if it is somebody has gone to report a missing girl request, वो बैठा के रखेगा, वो पहले किसी और का मिसिंग कुत्ते की रिपोर्ट आएगी, वो पहले लिखेगा, उसके बाद में वो आपको पूछेगा कि वो किसके साथ गई, उसका कोई दोस्त तो नहीं है, उसका कोई अफेयर तो नहीं है, उसका कोई बॉयफ्रेंड, अरे that girl is missing, somebody attend to that. So that sensitivity is lacking, that seriousness is lacking. But the real change will really happen when all of us change at our homes together. And this is going to take time, because this is not a change that can happen overnight. This is a change that is going to take, this is a, you know, not an incremental change. It is a reformative change. And change is happening, but it is too slow right now. It needs to happen faster than what it is happening. Now, the second question that you put was with regard to marital rape. You know, I feel that it's a misnomer that marital rape is not a criminal offense. I was mentioning the Domestic Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act of 2005. It defines sexual violence, sexual abuse also. And sexual abuse is actionable as a matrimonial wrong. It is actionable as a wrong under the Domestic Violence Act. And interestingly, though it is a matrimonial thing, but domestic violence is a hybrid law. It's a very interesting law because it has elements of civil law and criminal law. So to start with, now this is also very interesting. I mean, this really gives a lot of succor to the hapless victims, because if a law is only a criminal law, then there is only a punishment that is there. There is really no restitution to the victim. But if a law is only civil law, it gets mired in that personal laws issue. That civil law you can't implement across board to all women. So this is made as a hybrid law. To start with, it is civil wrongs, civil remedies that are prescribed. You know, you can get protection orders, maintenance orders, custody orders, the household, shared household, etc. All those orders you can get. And if those orders are violated, then it becomes a penal, actionable offense, having the characteristic of a criminal law. So this is available to all. You know, the only area really of where the marital rape is not made as an offense is under the exception in section 375 of IPC, because there is an exception that under the general rape, that the woman cannot bring a case against her husband. But you know, that you say a lot of literature is available, a lot of awareness is available. Yes, that is right. It is available. That is the direction that we need to be headed to, and we are headed in that direction. But let me give you an example. I mean, we are standing on a flight of stairs. We want to go to the roof. We want to reach there, but we can't catapult to the roof. We will have to go through the steps. Look at the state of our matrimonies today. In the name of not having a uniform civil code, civil relationship is not only between a husband and wife, between employer-employee, between colleagues, between your workmen, between how we construct homes, how we pay electricity, taxation, telephone connections, how we walk on the road. These are all civil relationships. But these civil relationships are all governed by gender neutral and religion neutral laws. But the relationship of a husband and wife, these religious contractors, that is what I like to call them, who oppose giving rights to women in matrimony, equal rights to women in matrimony, in the name of opposing uniform civil code. So that is the reality of our country today. Today, still we have problems of dowry deaths. In the heartlands of our country, our daughters are still being burnt in their village, in the kitchens. And it's very surprising. You never hear of a mother-in-law getting burnt in a kitchen. It is always the daughter-in-law who gets. Why? Mother-in-law also cooks. But it's always the daughter-in-law. So there's a very long journey for us to take. We have to get to, and why get to just marital rape? We have to go to a definition of a time where rape becomes gender neutral. Young boys are ravaged. That is actionable under POCSO Act since 2012. But there was no remedy available for that till 2012. POCSO Act came when sexual offences against children became gender neutral. So that is the direction where we need to go. Sexual harassment has become a reality, minuscule minority, but it has become a reality where women are coming in position of power. So there's a lot of hue and cry about that. Men want these laws to become gender neutral. So we should head in that direction. But it's a progression. It's a march. I don't think as a nation we can jump the loops. These are loops that we need to go through. That's my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so moving on to the next question, we have Himan Malik for the next question. Also, I like to mention that due to the paucity of times, we'll just take one or two more questions. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, moderator, for providing me with such an opportunity. Ma'am, so my question is that, for example, there are provisions within the Indian Evidence Act, for example, Section 119, which allows the court to communicate with the witness in whatever means or manners he's very comfortable in, so that he can give his testimony, right? So my question to you basically is that should there be a checklist of items that the courts should have which suits a woman aggrieved, and how such checklist should be followed by the court so that they do not discriminate against women litigants who are illiterate or belong to different caste or religion?
So Himang, that's your name, right? So let me tell you, Himang, there are in tune with the provisions of the Evidence Act, there are a lot of statutory mechanisms that have been put in place. There is a vulnerable witness protection program. There is so there are these special rooms that have been created. There is provision for in-camera proceedings. There are already these guidelines that have been framed, but the latitude and liberty of applying those guidelines are with the presiding officer of the court. And that has been kept in a manner because you can't have a one-size-fits-all formula. It will have to be on the basis of the vulnerability or the level of understanding. In fact, if you see the POCSO Act, there is a whole chapter on how the evidence has to be recorded, because these are all child victims. So there is provision for interpreters, there is provision for child counselors, there is a mandate that you have to allow somebody who the child feels comfortable in.